Hello to concurrent viewers. How nice of you to come so quickly. I've never actually heard of Aarvoll until I saw that Joe Davis had announced his discussion with him. I listened to a part of it. I posted a few comments there. I didn't listen to all of it because it was rather dull, as these discussions tend to be with Joe Davis. I don't know why so many young men who want to sound clever think they have to talk like, well, somebody who studied philosophy at university. It is very alienating, quite unnecessary, and doesn't clarify anything, and only serves to make others of your race hate you. I mean, you can see from the comments on that video that hardly anybody understood what they were saying. There are quite a few views, but as to how much was actually understood, who knows? I think what they do, these subscribers and viewers to these discussions are simply, well, lost young men who have a vague idea that they want things to be other than the liberal order as it is now under Biden. They would have been Trump supporters, but they don't want to be identified with the American proletariat. And that's why they talk intellectual in that way that is so alienating and infuriating. I suppose Joe Davis gets his following because, well, he's a Chad, he's a good-looking guy. I think he's got a wife, and he may even be a father, I'm not sure. And this puts him in a higher status position than being a mere incel or a father who is not married to the mother of his child. This is how these things work, either consciously or unconsciously. But anyway, since these days, thanks to Facebook kicking me out for, I think, another 14 days, this is what I do these days. I lurk in Telegram groups. And it hasn't been entirely fruitless. You get access to a different kind of information that you would get through more mainstream social media platforms, and in Telegram the speech runs freer, and so you get a very good idea about the supporters of Joe Davis. I mean, I would advise him to, not that I'm complaining about the anti-Semitism and the racism and, all that, but if you want to tart up your image, you get rid of your, the most socially retarded of your subscribers, just to, and you wait for better people to come along, rather than being just grateful to get any. I suppose this is a problem for many people. I only have 10 people in my chat, and I noticed that today the number of subscribers of my Telegram group went down to 39 from 40, so I'm not doing that well myself, and maybe I'm not in a position to give advice, but you are all welcome to join my exclusive Telegram group where speech runs free, and you will have access to me in a in a closer way than you would otherwise have through YouTube or Facebook or Gab, because I'm closer to Telegram these days than any other form of social media, and you will be able to get a response from me if I wish it, because I'm not censored there. But what gives me hope through the latest exchange with Joel Davis and this Christian perennialist called Aarvoll is that Aarvoll seems prepared to discuss ideas. I went to his channel, of course, and there's a short half-hour video about him talking about Christianity, and I've posted a few comments there, so you can go there and maybe add to my voice in urging him to talk to me. Because obviously a national dialogue is required, and in the case of Aarvoll and me, a transatlantic dialogue is required. Joel Davis may not be very happy with me because he kicked me out of his Telegram group. I don't think I was being particularly rude, but who knows? People are so sensitive these days, even young men who call themselves intellectuals. Perhaps he just didn't want me to irritate the anti-Semites and racists in his group, because, that is his base, basically, right? He will find no such considerations. In my Telegram group, I will even allow you to irritate me and insult me if you add something to the debate. After all, Jay Walker is there. I don't think I've even removed anyone other than somebody who is obviously spamming for Bitcoin or whatever. Thank you, Phantom, for saying trying to get nationalism out of Christianity is a tall order. Certainly they are not incompatible. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm saying that you can be a nationalist without being Christian. That is really my point, and I'm saying Christianity is kaput. I know I'm talking to an entire civilization that doesn't know this and wants to deny this, but this is becoming rapidly more and more undeniable, and if you refuse to talk to me about this because you're insecure and you think you're not going to win the argument, then I already have won the argument, haven't I? So if Aarvoll refuses to talk to me, then I have won the argument. Particularly when he said, "Oh, I'm prepared to talk to anyone about my ideas. I'll let anyone challenge my position." So in his stream on what is true Christianity, he never defined it, and then he said, "Oh, he went to Hinduism." There was a passing mention to Islam. So I'm saying, if you reject your own religion and you're shopping around for one, which he clearly was. So he had a look at Hinduism. He was obviously aware of Islam, and I'm saying, well, what about the other two? Okay, you can dismiss Judaism because you can say, well, I'm a Gentile, I would never consider becoming a Jew. But what about Islam? Islam is the Christian-adjacent religion. Because it's not Hinduism, it's not Buddhism, and he didn't mention idolatry at all. It's like, yeah, this is a problem with Christians. It's like, on the one hand, you know about the Ten Commandments, which forbid idolatry and blasphemy, and on the other hand, you can't be made to understand that Christianity is idolatry and blasphemy. So even if you don't accept that Christianity is idolatry and blasphemy because, well, you've been doing it for 2,000 years, you have to accept that I am making the accusation, and it is incumbent on you to deny it in a convincing way. And if you can't, you have lost the argument. Do you understand? Apparently not. The reaction is, well, we're just not going to talk to you. we'll just pretend you don't exist. Like distributist. Cowardice, corruption, incompetence. But they get all these subscribers because they just seem to be more high status than the incels, and these high status graduates will be able to dispense advice and say, look, I'm doing okay. Yeah, you're doing okay because you come from a middle class background, but how will your children do if you ever have them? Don't know, don't care. And of course, Jay's been pestering me again. He still doesn't get it. I'm not talking to him because I'm not talking to somebody who doesn't even know that he's lost the argument. But then I know he's suffering from some mental health issue, narcissism probably. He just can't understand why I would reject Christianity, even as he says Christianity is kaput and not kaput. So I do see that there's a problem with a lot of men just not being capable of logical thought. Why aren't they capable of logical thought? It's because they don't have a moral system. Because every decision that they make is dependent on, will this work or not? Will I succeed or not? And therefore, if it doesn't look like they're going to succeed in their lifetimes, in their pathetic lifetimes, they're not going to do it. Even if it's the right thing, they're not going to do it. And that's where Jay is. So on the one hand, he says he believes in God. He won't be able to answer whether God exists. He'll say, yeah, but no. And if I ask him whether he believes in an afterlife, he'll say, who knows? Yet he expects me to platform him. I'm not that desperate. I would prefer to talk to myself. I mean, I'm doing fine. Streaming, going over my streams, responding to the points that arose in my last stream. I don't need to talk to idiots and neurotics who don't know that they've lost the argument. I don't need to talk to frightened lost boys of nationalism who only go on about nationalism and their racial identity without even realising that what they need is some moral system that is required to obtain group solidarity. If they can't have that decision, if they can't come to that conclusion after I've been nudging them for so long, then I guess, that there's a hole in their head or something. And you would have thought, the way they keep complaining about Jews and Muslims, it's like, what do Jews and Muslims have in common? They have their religion. They have their belief in the Abrahamic God. What do the atheists and Islamophobes have in common? Their rejection of these religions. So, you know what the problem is. I don't know what kinism is. Phantom. Well, Nick Griffin, he's lost everything, hasn't he? He's just hanging around in Irish groups, hoping to impress on them that he knows more about nationalism than anyone else. He was the one who crashed and burnt. He thought he could get away with not explaining why. Not explaining why the British worker is, why the British proletariat is scorned by British business. he'd prefer to blame Jews and Muslims. So, well, that's why he is now. So Dr. Mengele is just completely obsessed about Jews. Zionism is Jewish nationalism, so if Gentiles have the right to a nation, then so do Jews, and they've got it. So I'm not going to be taking it away from them. It would be hypocritical, Dr. Mengele. How can I be promoting nationalism for Gentiles while refusing Jews the right to their homeland, just because I hate Jews so much? The problem really is people like Dr. Mengele, all these anti-Semites who are so intellectually and morally crippled by their hatred that they have no self-awareness at all. So let us hope that Aarvoll is able to discuss this with me, and if he isn't, then you know the state of masculinity in the West and their inability to even discuss ideas, because they'll only discuss ideas with you if they win, and they want to win the argument without having to win the argument. Thank you, Phantom, for giving me a bit of background on Aarvoll. Propertarianism was never going to work because it's an incomplete idea. And I did see how Kurt Doolittle disgraced himself. I mean, he just, at that rally when he, about what he said, to the black man, which everyone present felt was submitting to the black man. That was my memory of the whole thing. Yeah, I don't even know what perennialism is. What is it? Just sort of social conservatism? But Kurt Doolittle is an autist and neurotic anyway. I mean, I knew that when I was talking to him. I mean, he was barely coherent. He couldn't even explain his own ideas properly. He had to get that, I forget his name now, but that man with the motorcycle helmet to explain his ideas. I do it, and he was the only one who could do it properly and to make it popular. So, let's face it, you haven't got an idea, you haven't got a secular political ideology. I understand you want to reject the Abrahamic faith, but you can't do that because you've got liberalism with its history of 250 years. You've got communism, which is supposedly still being practiced in China. And it's like, if you want National Socialism, look to China, right? Because really, it's the Chinese in China who are practicing National Socialism, but they know not to say it. They're going to say, it's communism with Chinese characteristics, but it's nationalism with communism, and, well, we're not really sure what communism is these days. I mean, China's arguing that, what we're trying to do is bringing the wealth and giving it to the people below. We haven't quite done it yet, but we're in the process of doing it. So leave us alone. And to do it, we need to trade with the rest of the world. But oh dear, look at the Americans and their allies. They want to crush us because they already know that our trains are better than theirs. They know that our phones are better than theirs, and our 5G is better than theirs. And now that they've realised it, they're going to try and crush us. In fact, the Chinese political programs are better than the ones you get in the West. So, if you want National Socialism, look to China. And actually, I'm saying you should have a one-party state. And I have thought about it. I am aware a little about the history of corruption in China, though sort of solved it, or the problem's not so bad anymore. But of course there will be future abuses and future ways of undermining the system by their own internal subversives as well as external subversives. But I'm saying I have thought about it and I have a solution to that, and obviously there's no point talking to morons and vegetables in the chat because they don't get it. So if you want National Socialism without the anti-Semitism, it must be without the anti-Semitism. If you want this sort of thing in the West, you have to be prepared to talk about it. And so I am going to YouTubers with bigger channels than me, and if they refuse to talk to me because they don't like my detestable idea of secular Quranism, then the only possible reason for that is because they don't want to be seen to be losing an argument to me, which is in fact dishonourable. If the idea you have is fundamentally wrong because it is at odds with reality, then you should give it up, right? Instead of doubling down on your speed on the road to perdition. Why is secular Quranism stupid, Phantom? Why do you think you can do without a religion? Secular Quranism is Islam light. And how it is different from Islam is that it guarantees your freedom of belief. So you don't have to believe in Islam. You don't have to believe in God. It's a tall order. So I'm not even asking you to do that, but you obviously have to obey a system of rules, and you won't be able to cook one up. All you can do is say, this is what I'd like, me personally, and find that nobody agrees with you. Not even the people on your side supporting your political cause. They won't agree with you because they'll say very predictably, who are you to get your preference prioritized over us? What makes you better than us? Okay, Phantom, you want to ban religion. Well, that's a political act, and you won't get enough people agreeing with you. And I'm saying secular Quranism is fair enough to men and women, the old and the young, the rich and the poor, the majority and the minority. And it's pretty obvious that there is no better available guide to humanity than the Quran. And it's actually helpful that you don't like it. Because if you did, then, I would be accused of favouring the group that really liked it. Well, you can make all the predictions you like, Phantom, but you haven't got an idea. So the person who has an idea will be ahead of the person who doesn't and only has objections. So this is really a test of the honour of Western man. If they're going to behave like frightened children and lost boys, then, well, they're not going to solve their problem, will they? I mean, what you could do to help is post in the chat the Jolly Heretic, Millennial Woes, Academic Agent, to let me on. I wouldn't bother about Aarvoll. Okay, it would be nice, but they're not crucial. They're not big enough to matter. But yeah, it would help, and if they're prepared to talk it over with me, then, well, I think it would help a little bit. I have the feeling that I won't be invited back on Politically Provoked or The Crucible, just because Christians won't want me to promote my message, and I think I did an okay job of making my point on The Crucible and Politically Provoked. So really the crucial people are the YouTubers you would have heard of, and if they're not going to do it, I can imagine their reasons. It's like, oh, it's so unpopular, I would lose all those super chats, and so I'm not going to do it. But then they're only behaving like the corrupt politicians that they complain about, and they're not really advancing the cause, are they? Yes, well, Phantom, you already agree that Christianity is dead. Are you saying that your magic white skin is going to protect you from whatever? Okay, so alt-right YouTubers just a grift. Then, well, what else? Where else are you going to get your ideas? Okay, Phantom, what else are you going... Okay, what would you suggest I do? I'm not exactly being platformed on mainstream media. Books? Yeah, you don't know. Nobody reads books. Yes, give up SK and do what? I'd be more likely to accede to your suggestion if you had a better alternative. And also, I can't take you seriously because you're not using your real name. No, you're just saying get a job or something and give it up and never mention it again. No, of course I'm not going to do that. When I'm so close to success. Or maybe not. I stream too much. How do you know? I mean, obviously I need an online presence. And to keep in touch with my base. What's my take on infanticide? Well, I think your goose is cooked if just one of your parents wants you dead, right? So if abortion is allowed, why not infanticide? That's my question. I can't really answer it. What, because your neighbour might be upset? Would your neighbour be less upset if your illegitimate offspring were... Well, we don't know. I mean, the neighbour doesn't know it. He has no right. And it's already unofficially practiced anyway, isn't it? I mean, who's invested in an infant anyway? Because nobody wants to look after another person's infant unless they are, childless and actually looking for one. So obviously you should give it up for adoption if you can't look after it properly. There'll be a lot of stories about, infants being left outside the homes of, respectable married couples in the olden days, trying to give it a good home. But if you didn't care about it, I guess you just, expose it the way the ancient Greeks did. But expose it in a, assigned place so that anybody looking for a spare infant would know to come there and pick it up. I mean, this was, this practice was incorporated into a lot of Greek myths. I mean, the story of Paris is a good example. Since his parents, his father, the king of Troy, had to abandon him because he was born under an unlucky star. And he was picked up by a shepherd, and he grew into a fine young man, and then he met his parents again, and they accepted him, but it proved in the end that he was indeed born under an unlucky star, because his romantic adventures ended in the fall of Troy. Yeah, I agree with you, Phantom, that, why would you keep alive a severely disabled infant? There's no reason for that. And why would you want to punish a couple who has a severely disabled infant? Why would you make it illegal for them to not bring it home from the hospital? And if you don't bring it home from the hospital, it will just... Well, we know the procedure, don't we? They just starve it to death. They'll keep it comfortable but not feed it. So it just starves to death. So you might as well strangle it, right? Or what? And that was the sort of thing that the midwife would do. The midwife would talk to the mother and ask the mother her preference about, what level of disability are you prepared to put up with? You let me know, so I'll take the appropriate decision if necessary when the time comes, and and we won't need to talk about it. And that was why midwives had to be women of good character. What are you asking me, Phantom? How did Andrew reply to what question? Well, he said his child was disabled, and I suspect that not all his children are legitimate. So I think there's going to be a problem. I think everybody is more or less compromised on the matter, but I mean, I get lots of argument. I mean, lots of people saying, "Oh, but you were not morally perfect," and I was saying, no, I don't have to be morally perfect, because it would just be impossible to expect somebody who is morally perfect only to be able to promote secular Quranism. And we know the reason why Ralph keeps saying, "Oh, but you're not morally perfect, Claire. Look at you. You did this, you did that," and I'm saying it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because what these people want to do is to say that anybody who proposes raising standards of sexual morality is to discredit them and say, you are not morally perfect, therefore you can't tell us what to do. And I'm saying, you don't have to be morally perfect to repent. Yes. I don't believe in fairy tales. Oh, so that's what your problem is. You're a militant atheist, and you think I should cook up some secular political ideology. I have. It's secular Quranism. I wasn't secretive about. I take care to release certain details because it is actually necessary that I show that I am not completely perfect, just in case anybody does think that. So I think in the entire West, I'm the only person with an idea that is potentially viable, even though it is detestable. It is found to be detestable by so many. I mean, the only other person I can think of is Daniel Sienkiewicz, and his idea is not viable at all. So let us hope that these alt-right YouTubers are capable of having an honest and rational discussion, and we will know what to think if they can't have a rational and honest discussion with me. Thank you all for listening. Phantom asked us, SK promote offensive jihad. What do you mean? It's like you already do that. Neoconservatism is offensive war, isn't it? You invade other people's countries. You invade other people's countries and take their stuff. So when you say jihad, you're talking about Islamic imperialism, right? And I'm saying, yeah, Islam is an imperial religion. Well, why would you get scared about that when the whole history of the West, which has had 3 global empires, is about global imperialism? I mean, talk about the pot calling the kettle black. Phantom, why are you saying the alt-right is dead? Do you think the alt-right is dead when it changes its name to the dissident right? It's the same old people. It's the same old people with the same old grievance. So there's no point even changing your name. I like alt-right because it perfectly describes people who don't think mainstream conservatism is capable of solving the problems created by so many decades of liberal policy. Okay, I've got to go. Thank you for your time.